Welcome, Shira Lane. You almost escaped. Founder and CEO of the Atrium. Um, Shira Lane and the Atrium is kind of an artist co-op or artist kind of area where they collaborate to figure out how do you take things and give them a second life, and how do you bring the community together to really thrive around this. She's going to be focusing on shifting cultures, introducing the circular economy, and empowering local businesses to thrive. Her passion project, Upcycle Pop, was started in 2017, and it's America's first upcycle market, an interactive, playful market with upcycled art, fashion, furniture, home design, and inventions. Check it out at upcyclepop.com. And I'm going to pause and welcome Shira Lane.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, so back in 2017, we started Upcycle Pop. It was just an idea of how cool would it be if there was a market for upcycled and repurposed items. That idea turned into a market, and we did one. It was supposed to be one, and then really quickly we did another, and that was even more successful than the first. And then the artists were really excited about it and really wanted to know, like, hey, can we continue doing this? Can we have a co-working space? And I told them, no, it's a lot of work. I don't want to do it. And then the landlord that we activated the space was like, why don't you just use the building until I sell it? So we did. And I told everybody, but if I'm doing this, we're doing it completely sustainable. We're going to have events that are zero waste events. We're going to educate people on circular economy, on upcycling, and how we get there. And very quickly, we got to about 18 organizations in a 34,000 square foot building. And then the building sold and COVID hit. We had to move. So we just recently moved to Old Sacramento. And we've gone from a more office space that we were, like an event space, office space, to a more retail space. We've taken over a building that's been vacant for 15 years. We've upcycled that building. And now we have a retail store. COVID hit. What happened was there were no masks. If people remember, there were no masks around that time. And luckily I had creatives that were sewing. And so quickly in April, we created a mask marketplace to help creatives get some funding. And we were able to raise $35,000 for local creatives who were sewing. And they really helped keep us all safe, because without those handmade masks, we would have been SOL. Then we decided, hey, we're already photographing and doing this. Why don't we turn this into like a more expansive marketplace, online marketplace? So we got a grant from the city through the CARES Act fund to help onboard all local creatives that are eco-friendly and localized in Sacramento to get on board, to get onto e-commerce, because there was a big disconnect. A lot of creatives who make stuff just don't have the technical know-how or the background. And so we're like, we will help them get there. We will make it easy for them. And we will also make it easy for the community to find and support local. Because one thing we've learned from COVID is that a lot more people want to support local. But if you don't know the name of a creative or a place to go, it's really difficult. So we turned the mask marketplace into Sacramento.shop, which is an online marketplace for locally made items in Sacramento, eco-friendly locally made items in Sacramento. And we do same-day delivery in Sacramento, plastic-free shipping nationwide, and free pickup from our store. We have a retail store now also in Old Sacramento. We have a baby grand piano, and you can come and paint with us and play the baby grand piano. It is super fun, and it is our little FU to Amazon. Now, our goal with this is we want to make it so we're slowly going to be expanding. So through the grant, we were able to onboard 35 artists. We have about 140 artists that are on our wait list to get on board. And our next phase is that we are onboarding more people onto our website. And we've been doing pretty good considering. And now what we want to do is we want to get into the circular economy. And that has been our goal for our nonprofit the whole time, is building a kind, sustainable, creative economy. And in other words, it's one that is adaptive, regenerative, and omni-considerate, meaning that we are considerate for everything, the environment, the people, the planet, and the respective environments around it. So it's not just me and my house, but it's also how does my house affect other places around me. So what we're going to start is deodorants and things like that. So for example, if you like to buy from us Tiffany's deodorants, which is our next phase that we're getting into, which is items that you purchase on an ongoing basis. So if you like to buy from us Tiffany's deodorants, you can bring back the packaging back to us, or we pick it up from you when we do another delivery. We take that packaging back to the creative. The creative sanitizes it, refills it, and then brings it back to the store for resale. So what we're doing is we're creating and escalating, accelerating the circular economy and really trying to drive local creatives that are already makers to start thinking like that and to start working in that way. So what we're doing is really creating the infrastructure to make it really easy for creatives to do this, because the biggest problem that we've had with circular economy, and if there are people here that don't know what circular economy, tell me, Thomas, if I should tell people, because people think circular economy is different things. But the biggest problem has been logistics. When we talk about circular economy and what circular economy is continuous reuse of an item so it doesn't get into the trash is the simplest form we can explain it. Because right now we're on a linear economy. We extract, we use, and then we trash. So we'll end up with a hole here, we'll end up with a hole here, and a big mountain of trash over here, and we've depleted the planet because it's a finite planet. The goal is that we start reusing things, because trash is really a design flaw. That's all it is we didn't really think about things properly. So what we want to do is create and accelerate creatives to think that way, to start creating products that way. So not only are we building the circular economy, we're also building the local maker economy here in Sacramento. And we really want to push that here. I believe creatives think outside the box. I think creatives are problem solvers. You give a creative and go, hey, I need to make this out of this, and they'll figure it out. And so I think by combining the creative sector with the sustainability sector, I think there are a lot of creatives that care about the environment. And I think the sustainability sector really needs the outside of the box thinking. So that's the goal with Sacramento.shop, where we're going with that in a very, very short form. Tell me, Thomas, if that was too much. Or...
Oh, no, that was good. So on the circular economy, you mentioned that there's different things that people might be referring to. Do you want to give a kind of a high level summary of what you're referring to in the circular economy, the cradle to cradle, I guess?
Yeah. So some people, when they think circular economy, a lot of times they will think like, oh, so the money circulates within your own little community. Yeah, it's kind of that. I mean, that is actually a byproduct of circular economy. It's actually a really positive byproduct. Circular economy means that we start designing things for reuse from the beginning. Because right now, when you buy your deodorant, you're buying it with the plastic, and then you're using it once it's done, and then you're throwing the whole plastic away, when really all you need is that refill. The rest of the plastic is fine. And what ends up happening is, and I'm thankful for John Oliver for doing that segment on Sunday, because it's something I've been talking about for years and bugging Thomas about for years, about our issue with plastics. So right now, what we need to do is go from a linear economy, and we need to bend this linear economy. Bending it is really upcycling, meaning we're taking products that are currently in production and trying to find reuse for them. Eventually, we want to kind of keep bending that till eventually we start redesigning. And this phase here is where we're starting to redesign products to actually continue the loop. So it's kind of like there are a couple of phases to get to circular economy. And what I mean by the logistics, so for a lot of times we're thinking about these big products and we want them to go from like state to state and collect it. What we want to do with Sacramento.shop, and we've already been asked by Davis and Stockton to replicate what we're doing, is creating these little hubs. kind of like in the same way that blockchain works, that each one is individual, but kind of is connected to the other. These are little hubs that serve that county. So Sacramento.shop will serve that county. And then there will be, a YOLO.shop, or there'll be, every county will have their little own hub. So that way every community is really more resilient, more sustainable, can promote their own makers, and can promote this and accelerate this a lot faster.
Okay. So I don't know, some of you might know this, some of you might not. So in 2019, we did a startup weekend competition around sustainability, and we held it at the Atrium, your space there. And there were some, when we started talking about, there were some requirements that you had about the events that happened there to make sure that they were sustainable. What are some of the requirements, and how have people kind of adjusted to those?
Oh, at the Atrium,
Yeah,
what we
at the
did?
Atrium, yeah, for making zero waste events.
So we required that there be no plastic, meaning no single-use plastic be used. So if you wanted to have an event and serve food, it had to be on real plates. And there was the amazing invention of a dishwasher, that we put it in a dishwasher and clean those plates. Or if you didn't want to do the dishes, then there are services, catering services, that you can rent dishes and return them dirty, and they'll do the dishes. But the idea is that convenience is convenient for us for a couple of minutes, but very inconvenient for the environment. What COVID has done in the last year has increased the amount of plastic in our ocean by 30%. We have 30% more plastic in our ocean in just 1 year because of COVID. We have so many more gloves and single-use masks now and everything else, and it's dreadful. And also, a lot of the takeouts that we had, people doing a lot of takeout and all that single-use plastic. If there's one organization that really was happy, was the plastic industry with COVID. So plastic bags came back. So yeah, that was so our goal was to create zero waste, and then also it was to separate your trash, and that means to separate your food from your food from your cans, from your glass, and kind of really separating things out.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on at least the difficulty of removing plastic there. Now, when we had our event there, there were some things that it's like, okay, well, because of for a couple different reasons, we're going to end up having some sort of plastic here. It's like, okay, so what do we end up doing with that? And one of your artists came up with the solution of like, hey, if that's what you're going to be using and it's all consistent, I can actually turn that into an art piece that then you guys can have. And I thought that was kind of an ingenious solution, and kind of the true embodiment of upcycling, because sometimes it's, it's hard, you think like, okay, what am I going to use multiple times? Well, if you're having a single event and you're trying to figure out what to do, there are opportunities if you think outside the box, like you just talked about there. Now, for those of you here that are kind of more used to the startup kind of thing, I always think of creatives as like innovators, but in
Yes.
that kind of world where it's like they're trying to figure out what's a way that someone's really never approached this problem. Now, what are some of the? Yeah,
Oh.
I was going to ask, what are some of the upcycling artists that, and what have they upcycled?
So, for example, we have a bunch. So we do our Upcycle Pop market now every Saturday in Old Sacramento. And we're starting that slow, and it's outdoors now, and we're kind of doing an eco art market in Old Sacramento. Old Sacramento is a location that really needs some sustainability. There are no recycling bins in Old Sacramento. Crazy, right? Yeah, none. Styrofoam is still served there, and so we have a lot of work to do, but we're there. But talking about artists and upcycling, so we have some artists that upcycle. They turn old suitcases into battery-operated Bluetooth speakers. We have artists, and right now we're starting conversations with UC Davis. They have their blue mesh stuff that they use to sanitize operating equipment, and they create tons of it. Every week they have tons and tons of it. And because they could bail it and send it back, but it's too expensive for them, so they just trash it. The nurses there felt terrible about it and kind of contacted us, and we've converted them into bags. So we're going to be starting conversations with them in taking those bags, bringing it back to UC Davis. So that way, when somebody goes in for an operation, they get a bag to put their stuff in, because right now UC Davis is giving them a plastic bag. So these are kind of like little things, and that an artist came up with, really. That was an artist that was like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do this. They look at material as feedstock. And if they know that they're getting consistent feedstock, they're like, okay, I can turn this into a product that can be sold. And that's the goal. And so what we're doing, what we had in our old space, and we're trying to find a new space to do this, and a sponsor, is we want to create a loot room. That's LOOT, loot. And what that is products or items that